A really short one this week as I've got a lot going on and I just don't have a lot of time. But I wanted to get something out and well, you guys really seem to enjoy watching me suffer, so I think you're going to like this one. And just in case you're sat there right now doubting me, well, this week, one of our party members had a visit by the police. I've never experienced this before, so as usual, I began this week like every other week. I completed all of the weeklies, which of course included stuff like LFR. I then sat down to open all of the caches and share some of the loot I got from the weeklies. We kick things off with a super helpful trinket. This game really wants my priest to use agility. From LFR, we managed to pick up the creeping it's an unused healing trinket, okay? And apparently it's very good for me, but I'm probably going to be very bad at using it. We picked up our 10th bottled magma trinket, some veteran hands, and a veteran dagger. From the caches, we picked up a veteran warbound back, a champion head with a very interesting on-use effect, though it seems to be missing some secondary stats. Looks pretty cool though. We picked up some new veteran legs, and the last item was a champion offhand. I forgot to mention this at the beginning, but we did start with an item level of 606, and our score currently sits at 1,551. Now, once in a while you get those vaults where it's like, man, I really can't decide. I want this item and I want that item. Yeah, today was one of those. So without looking at everything else, obviously you guys can see the very rare Spy Master's web trinket and the seal of the Poison Pact ring from Queen in the raid. And both of these are on champion track. Now, admittedly, Spy Masters is pretty terrible for Holy, but from what I can see, it's BIS for both Disc and Shadow. And no matter what I decide, I'm going to feel pretty awful for not taking the other one. Wouldn't it be such an epic feature if you could just freeze an item for a week like you can do with the trading post? That would be pretty amazing, right? Let me know what you guys think about that in the comments below. So I came up with a plan to take both of them. Sort of. But before I get into that, I should probably show you the rest of the vault first. We had the choices of a champion offhand, some hero tier hands, a hero chest with really high verse, which I'm kind of lacking. Both of those are massive upgrades, by the way. A veteran dagger, veteran wrists, and some veteran boots. But am I realistically gonna pass on the ring and the trinket? So what's my plan? Well, it's probably very obvious to a lot of you guys, but to those that aren't aware, or maybe you've forgotten, I don't necessarily have to pick an item just yet. So in this case, I decided to jump into a normal raid and see if I can loot one of them. The Spy Master's trinket didn't drop. Pretty unlucky on that one, though not as unlucky as the guys that tied for a roll of 1. Wow. I'm sorry, but I don't think I've ever seen that before. That is incredible. Just like this guy that rolled an 89 on both of the healing trinkets from the second boss. But I rolled a 91, so get out of here, man. This entire normal raid took nearly 4 hours to clear. And as healing really wasn't an issue for me in a raiding environment, I felt I could take on heroic. I was given some hero wrists from the mage, and I decided enough was enough after we took down Kai Vezza. Man, that fight was a mess. So I didn't quite get what I wanted from there, but I got a butt ton of crests and valor stones to upgrade my gear. I took the ring from the vault, I upgraded some of my gear, I got my belt recrafted to 619 item level, and now it was finally time to jump into some Mythic Plus. But before we get into it, I just wanted to remind you guys that I do stream on both Twitch and YouTube, where I'll be playing the priest once this challenge is over. I also run weekly community keys and a community raid. Everyone's welcome. If you have any questions or you want to know more, make sure you join the Discord. Alright, so before we start signing to keys, I thought I'd quickly touch on the goals for this episode, as I didn't mention them at the beginning. I didn't really have a lot of time to get stuff done on the priest, as I have a lot going on outside of the game. But I wanted to get something done at least. I wanted to farm as much crests and valor stones as possible to upgrade as much gear as I can, and that's probably something I'm going to continuously do to speed up the gearing process. This meant clearing all of the LFRs, but it also meant jumping into both the normal and the heroic raid, and I made some really good progress this week. After that, I wanted to time, or at least complete, 4 mythic dungeons at a +5 difficulty. But in terms of gameplay, the one thing I really wanted to improve on this week is my usage of cooldowns, and I tend to sit on them a little too much. So this week I planned on using them a little more. So the first key I signed up to and got into was a Dawnbreaker +5. And this week at a +5 difficulty, we have Tyrannical to deal with. And returning once again, the second affix we have to deal with today is Ascendance. This one started off really well with the first pack, as I felt more confident and comfortable with the AoE damage coming out. I didn't feel like I had to pop any cooldowns just yet, but for the first pack of the dungeon, that's quite the output of healing. We get to the boat and I feel like I have to use my Psychic Scream to deal with one of the important casts on the Shadow Mage. But what I don't realise at the time is that the Ascendant fix is about to come out and our group don't really have a lot to deal with it. Now, I can't speak for Hunters, I know they have the knock-up trap. I'm not sure of the cooldown or how effective it is for the affix. Of course, I have my Psychic Scream every 30 seconds. We have Divine Toll from the prop Paladin, but I'm pretty sure I track both Cyclone and Typhoon on Druids through Omni CD, so I'm not sure they're spec'd into that. Nevertheless, we should be okay to deal with the affix, but it's not the greatest setup, and it kinda shows here as I think we let all but one go off. Yeah, that's pretty nasty. And the Druid's not even with us anyway. They had the wrong talents, apparently. We eventually get to the first boss. We survive the first beam, but as the affix comes out and you need to avoid the 2 circles on the floor, well, the Druid gets the debuff, fails to move from the circles, they end up going down, no one deals with the affix, and of course, as you might imagine, Dilly started feeling very anxious. The Druid got picked back up, but as the second beam was about to come out, well, come on, I don't even need to tell you what happens next. So yeah, we lose the Rep Paladin, the fight drags on as we're lacking a lot of damage, I get really caught out due to bad positioning, we lose the Druid again to the beam, I'm forced to run through the circles taking a lot of damage, and another beam forces me into a position where I can't heal the tank. Not that they made much of an effort to get to me. And then unfortunately, as another beam comes out, I didn't see it under my feet, it put a dot on me and eventually takes me down. Thankfully this was at 2% and the group managed to finish off the boss. This left us with 22 minutes to... Never mind. The next key I got into was an Arakara +5, and the fact that the shaman said it's reset made me feel like they were here quite recently and not doing so well. Everything went quite well up to the first boss, and although there were puddles everywhere, this guy was going down just fine too, until we got to about 40% and the swirlies decided to take their first victim. Then the ads weren't being taken care of because they were running through all of the webs. We ended up pulling an additional pack of crawlers and the fight got really messy. It got a little too hard to heal and unfortunately this caused a wipe. I want to say it went better the second time round, but I just, yeah. And for whatever reason, the only CR that was alive, well, I guess they forgot. Oh no, there we go. The DK picks up the Druid and the Druid picks up the Evoker. We continue the fight, it's a complete mess, but we take this boss down. Now, so those that played Dragonflight will know that in Brackenhide Hollow, after the first boss, you can either go left or right, and we never go left. It's not entirely the same in this place, but when I get a tank that goes left, yeah, this doesn't make me feel very confident. Nah, whatever. The second boss. Now, I'm pretty sure I covered this in a recent video, but I just want to touch on this again because I've really tried in this place. So when the big circle comes out, everyone wants to be stacked on the right as the big circle moves clockwise, and the swarms that you drop on the ground, along with the tank frontals, well, if they're placed on the right and you're already moving to the left, it makes avoiding them so much easier. But in this case, the tank was either standing right in the middle or on the far left, and that basically stitches up the rest of the group. We return for round 2. The third circle comes out, but old habits die hard and I try to ping them to get them into position. I stay to the right to drop my swarm. The tank frontal goes out into the middle of the room, leaving me no space to move, and of course I die. I was really frustrated at this point, but I was polite about it. I said please. I mean, instead of blaming someone else, I should always try and look at things and think, what could I have done better? And in that situation, I could have done 2 things. I could have either sped myself up by using the feather, or I could have just gripped them into place. Yeah, I should have done better. And if there's one thing I want you guys to take from any of these videos, is that yeah, sure, other players can make mistakes, they can make your life a hell of a lot harder, and they could possibly cause you to die. But you should always ask yourself, what could I have done better? Instead of just blaming everyone else, because it's not a good habit to get into, and it's not going to improve you as a player. This is something I'm constantly trying to do, but hey, I have my moments too. Alright, so less than 4 minutes remaining, and the tank decides to do something rather silly. I don't even quite know what to say about this, Paul. I mean, the Hauler alone is quite nasty to deal with, even on Tyrannical. And I know it's only a +5, but he runs off and grabs the other 2 ads. The Hauler starts casting its nasty stun AoE ability. We get a pack of carriers, the affix comes out, and it's just far too much for everyone to deal with. I don't quite know what they were thinking, but yeah, this didn't end well. And that was where we bricked the key. I actually think we could have timed this one. Who am I kidding? But if you think it couldn't get any worse, well, I was making my way down to, back to the group, and the tank continued without me. Like, I'm not even there, man. And as I get back for a second time, of course, they pull once again, and I'm not even there. Ah, the last boss. 25 deaths and 2 minutes overtimed. Now, I'm not going to cover too much of this, but I did have a question because I'm still not quite sure what happened. But I think I have a pretty good idea and you guys are going to love this. So here I am, minding my own business. The poison falls off of everyone as the pull mechanic happens. And can you see which direction mine's going in? Can you see where the shaman is? Yeah, I'm pretty sure when you get hit by the poison wave, it classes like as a knock-up and will take you out of the stun from the grasping blood. So I think I killed the shaman. I don't think I could do that again if I tried. But yeah, unfortunately, we lose the evoker a little after to the swirlies. They get picked back up. Everyone's scrambling around for the last pull mechanic. And unfortunately, the shaman dies, but we do take this boss down, gaining 21 score and taking our total rating up to 1,572. We did loot a champion dagger from the chest, which we traded to the druid. Well, at least I finished this dungeon. I then decide to return to the Dawnbreaker. And as I get to the summoning stone to help the paladin summon the rest of the group, well, they're just standing there, so I try doing it myself. The paladin walks over to me and then decides, nah, you can click on mine, punk, not the other way around. Then they ask in chat if anyone needs a summon, and I'm sat there thinking, like, just open your map and see where they are. If they're not at the dungeon, you summon them, right? So we summon the other paladin, and then they ask if anyone else needs a summon. So we end up summoning the warlock, and then they ask the rogue if they need a summon. I just summon everyone, man! I'm sorry, it's been quite the day. So we summon the rogue, and we wait patiently inside the dungeon for them to get to us. And the warlock lets us know that they need a second. The warlock and one of the paladins start role-playing, and then the warlock says this.
Something, police at the door.
Wait, what?
Seems quite wild.
Yeah, you're telling me. Okay. Never in my 17 years of playing World of Warcraft have I ever had to wait for someone because they had the police at their door. As little as the situation is, that's pretty hilarious. Have you guys experienced anything like this before? Let me know in the comments below. We finally get going and, oh, there's a bit of a difference in terms of damage. Yikes. I want to say this improved, but it really didn't. They also get a little lost flying to one of the ships, and I guess they just run out of steam and plummeted to their death. It's all good, man. We've all been there. We've all been there. Usually because this place is bug-free and we don't fly through the ships and lose all of our vigor. Nope, never happened to me. Anyway, we get to the first boss. The rogue starts doing a little better, but in terms of overall single target damage, yeah, this one wasn't great. The second beam comes out and, I mean, come on, it's obvious. I mentioned beam, you guys know what's going to happen. I start panicking a little when the damage absorb comes out, and everyone has to fly away when the darkness comes. We make it back to the ship, and uh-oh, are the police at his door again? I think he got a little lost. I survive a bit of chaos with the healing, and then another beam comes out. There we go, I said that word again. Oh no. So, of course, we wipe, we all get back, and I ask very politely to avoid the beams and the stuff on the ground, as I can't heal through it. It's pretty fair for me to ask, right? I guess not. And that, unfortunately, is where I called it for this week. Not a single key timed, although we did get some score from the Arakara. We did make massive progress in terms of item level, but this week was by far the worst week for me on the Priest. And I mean, it wasn't that bad, and I only attempted 3 keys because of the limited time available. But as mentioned, I wanted to get something out at least, and to be totally honest, this video's like double the length than I planned. But anyway, once again, this week I was terrible with the grips, but there were many fails. So returning once again, we have Derp of the Week. Now, this one was a hard one, and I've only selected 3 for today. We're going to kick things off with the first boss in the Dawnbreaker, where the tank not only takes 1 beam to the face, but they take a second one. Yeah, take that, stupid paladin. That's what you get for leaving my key, man. Then we have a moment in exactly the same key, where the rogue decides to take a little detour. Yeah, they did this twice as well. But Derp of the day for me was definitely the moment where I sniped the shaman in Arakara. Disagree? Let me know in the comments below. I still can't believe I did that.